In this story, Hannah talks about how a bright light showed her an unimaginable amount of love and what it means to live on the other side of death. Hold on tight, because this NDE story is going to blow your mind as Hannah reveals more and more of the unexplainable. Let's get right to the start of this interesting story. The name Kathleen Evans is woven into the fabric of an amazing story that goes beyond what people can understand. I was traveling for no apparent reason when I realized I was connected to an unseen force and being pushed backwards with a fury that I couldn't understand. With a lot of different feelings and thoughts filling my mind, the constant and inevitable pull of earthly life pulled me away from it. As I gave myself over to the unknown waters of this dream trip, I felt a strange lack of fear. I was calmly accepting the mysterious journey that lay ahead of me. With a sudden clarity, I understood that I had left the world of the living behind. I could see the clear signs of change in the unfolding space-time. An assemblage of spectral creatures, their presence infused with an infinite love, welcomed me in the bright expanse that extended beyond the limits of mortal sense. 6 beings came up to me in a symphony of love and awareness. Their earthy faces looked both familiar and strange. When I looked into their eyes, I felt comfort and a deep confidence that was beyond our understanding. Something that humans couldn't explain happened in the warmth of these kind spirits' hug. In this world of open awareness, there was no veil of deception or lying. There was no darkness to hide the bright truth that was at the heart of everything. Here, in the endless emptiness of the afterlife, the very core of existence was put bare for kind spirits to look at with care. In this highest level, the lines between people disappeared, making room for a deep connection between souls. I could see the deepest truths of the people who had gathered to greet me through the bright ether's currents of thought and feeling. It was like a meeting of souls who were not limited by the limits of earthly awareness. In the endless space of this alien realm, time seemed to bend and warp, drawing me closer and closer to a place I couldn't see yet. But even though life was moving quickly, I felt a deep peace and calmness because I knew that the world was welcoming me with open arms. There were a lot of different thoughts, feelings, and memories going through my mind at once as I was floating through the currents of this heavenly journey. In the infinite emptiness of the afterlife, the limits of human vision went away. In their place was a deep unity of being that was beyond mortal understanding. It was impossible to hear them because their speech patterns were too complex for humans to understand. Without the constraints of time as we know it on Earth, conversation in this otherworldly realm moved with a grace and ease that defied belief. In the bright void of the afterlife, time didn't exist. Each moment grew and shrunk in a never-ending dance of options. A single talk, full of deep meaning, flowed with a slow grace that belied how short it was. It was proof that life beyond the physical world has endless possibilities. There was more to conversation in this world of infinite awareness than just sound. It was a beautiful symphony of thought and feeling. Every soul had a unique tone, a vibration that came from the very core of its being. It was a language of the heart that could say a lot without words. But in the middle of the never-ending flow of thoughts and feelings, there was a deep clarity that filled the whole thing. This clarity came from the truth that beat at the center of everything. In this world of unlimited awareness, there were no limits on who you were. This made room for a deep link between souls that was filled with an endless love that flowed through space like a river of light. Being in the bright light of this beautiful love made me feel deeply free from the chains of doubt and insecurity that had held me to the living world. It was the purest, truest, darkest, and most unconditional love I could ever imagine. It was a love that went beyond all understanding on Earth. It was a love that would never end. Though I was going through a very strong emotional wave, I felt amazed and aware of the deep change that had happened inside of me. In the arms of this never-ending love, my spirit was born again in the bright emptiness of infinity. Even though I was far away, a brilliant light pulled at me in the middle of nothingness and time. It looked like a glowing halo, like the sun's ghostly rays in a picture. But its width got smaller as you got farther away, and its glowing limbs went on forever. As this light got closer, its center grew until it filled the whole scene, making a halo of love that was hard to describe. When I was with the people who came before me, the love wasn't weak. It was really strong. But I felt like there was something more, something closer, and this made me really hungry. It felt like the source of this never-ending love knew everything about me, better than the first father and kid. Family ties were stronger than anything in this world, and they had a purity that no other relationship could match. Because of this, I started to think of this bright emanation as heavenly, and I'm glad I saw it when I was going beyond the grave. I try to put this experience into words that normal people can understand by talking about the time I met 6 spirit beings whose essence sent love through thoughts and feelings they couldn't put into words. They seemed natural and almost primal in a world of calm blue that didn't have any earthly markers. I was so happy when they all decided to let me stay with them that I didn't want to go back to being tied down. When I was freed from the constraints of matter, my awareness went through the roof. It was filled with new ideas and endless potential. At the same time, I was flooded with existential thoughts and images of the universe. Each one added to the mosaic of what I knew and showed me how valuable life is. People talked about what would happen to me, but I stayed out of the way. As things came to light, I became more aware of everything. Next, our attention was drawn to a bright figure that captured us with its pure luminosity, a celestial apparition that was light itself. It was like someone was directing our attention from somewhere else. She was like a lantern in the sky, shining with a brightness that set her apart from her other ghosts. It's hard to describe. She seemed to be bigger than light itself, drawing all eyes to her beautiful body. The other ghosts, on the other hand, were set against a calm blue background, and their faces were filled with love. The way she looked at me was serious, like a strict teacher, but her love for me was deep, just like her friends. She wore the usual black gown and bonnet, and the years had worn off the lines on her face. She looked at me with unshakable determination to help me, but her silence said a lot. It was filled with a scrutiny so deep it reached into my soul. Before she said the words that would end her life, she goes back. There was a tight silence. They made my skin tingle. I begged her very hard to change her mind, but she wasn't affected by my feelings and was set on her decision. When it became clear that I had to go back, tears of pain filled my eyes. I felt like I was stuck between worlds. I was brought back to the present moment by the cold touch of a nurse hovering over my body. I was mentally and physically worn out, and it was hard for me to accept the disturbing truth of my return. My heart was pounding with a deep disappointment. Still, every time I became aware, the nurse's steady voice brought me back to the present moment while spoon-feeding me ice cubes to try to calm the heated chaos inside me. So, in the middle of life and death, I was thrown back into the real world. I couldn't explain the strange feeling of going outside of death, and I couldn't get over the meeting with the glowing person who ruled over the line between life and death.